So that's the first thing. There are several things I'd just like to run through, if I may. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to you, Ben, as well, for all the hard work you have put in at Merlin Park. I echo what people have already said, so well done. Secondly, I'd like to ask how many Portishead Independent councillors actually sit on the Portishead WASP committee or are members of WASP. I don't know whether you can answer that in a moment as well. And there's a reason I'm asking, because the skate park, clearly there's an election coming and a by-election, but it is worrying that the skate park, for which you, Ben, as a councillor and as an active member of WASP and vice chairman, do an awful lot. And it is quite galling to people when other candidates are using the skate park in their election manifesto, particularly when they haven't done any work towards the Wheels Park. So I'd like to have that answered, if I may, in a moment. I'd also like to raise in the North Somerset Times tonight, on page 14, it describes town councillors as independent councillors. May I just remind you that you are at town level Portishead Independent councillors, with the exception of the 2 Liberal Democrats, and only at North Somerset Council level are you part of the independent group, because you've declined to be part of the Portishead Independent group when elected. So it's really important that the material that's going in the local press is correct and accurate. And then I'd just like to go on to agenda item 10, which discuss North Weston. I'm just going to grab it up a second.
Car park lighting.
Yes, the car park lighting. Sorry, I'm just going to go back into the agenda. It refers to the lighting which I requested some time ago now, because the North Weston car park, and for users of the hall, particularly when during the autumn and winter months, is really dangerous, and it's pitch black to go back to that car park using the pathway. There's a comment that the standard street light would cost in the region of 12,000. A solar power LED would be in the region of 1,500, which seems quite reasonable to me. And then it says that a night visit to the site was made by town council officers on the 15th of March to establish the level of light on the path that is available to hirers of the hall when walking to or from the car park. It doesn't say what the outcome of that visit was, but then it goes on to say that the recommendation is to purchase solar fencing lighting, so not the first 2 options, to a maximum of £150 from Screwfix, which I find quite astounding, because at these meetings we watch large sums of taxpayers' money going to various good causes and various initiatives, and we even pay for North Somerset Council bins. So for a public car park, in the interest of safety, I'm astounded that you've chosen to propose £150 for fencing lights instead of perhaps £1,500 for a solar powered LED. And bearing in mind where that fence is, I'm not sure that solar lights from Screwfix is the best use of our town council money. It's certainly not in the best interest of safety of the people who use that hall. But I would like to know, there's no report attached to the agenda, but I would like to know what the officers discovered, bearing in mind that depending on what time they went on in March, it's certainly not as dark as it is when you go in autumn and winter. And that was really it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon, do you want to answer that one? Because you went down there when, to be fair, when Sharon did go down, it was pitch black.
Yeah. It was, I think it was about 10 o'clock actually, 10 o'clock in the evening. And I did take some pictures, and I think it would depend on how somebody's eyesight is as to the level of what you can see and the time of year as well. There seemed to be quite a lot of light at that time, and it's probably because there wasn't too many leaves on the tree, I would imagine. You actually get quite a bit of light through from the streets, and I admit that may well change as we go through to the summer with the leaves on the trees. That may well change. But I think it was particularly from the inside the car park rather than the approach on the path. where it was more sort of like poorly lit, really. And I looked at it and I thought, well, this may be totally different in 3 months' time. It may not be, and maybe it's something to assess, and maybe look into getting 2 or more quotes in respect to the solar lighting. But at this stage, I looked at it and I thought, well, it's a lot of money and there's a lot of time to just go ahead and spend 12,000 on something that may not actually be totally necessary. So whether you start at one end and then work back and see how you go, that's entirely up to the committee's decision.
I think, thank you, Sharon. Can I just mention that it was the pathway specifically I did raise it about, and I can guarantee, and my eyesight's pretty good, the pathway is pitch black, and in fact nobody feels safe on that pathway trying to get back to the car park. We weren't talking about the car park itself because you can go in through the other entrance, and in fact the pathway is so badly lit, most people then walk to the other entrance to get in, which is why I raised it. And in fact, Bob Cartwright actually admitted that the lighting is pretty appalling. So, and I'm not suggesting you spend £12,000, but to go for £150 from Screwfix when you could have £1,500 to improve an area of public safety, I think is a poor way to go forward. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Annette. Sorry, just flicking the screen.